Hi! First of all, we're going to make sure that our computer is able to work with Python. So I'm going to open my browser here and search for a software to download, and we're going to write our code in that software. And this is called Anaconda. So the website that we're going to go into is actually called anaconda.com. And this will be the first result that you see on Google or Bing. So click on Downloads Anaconda and it will let you a website in which you can find the latest version and download it onto your computer. So this is how it looks. Of course, in time, these images or general outline should be changed, but it doesn't matter. You can find the download section in anaconda.com. And if you click on download now, it will lead you to this site where you will find the latest version. Of course, you will see two different versions at this time. One is Python 3 and the other one is Python 2. And we're going to work with the latest version, which is Python 3. And Python 3.7 or 8 or 9, it really doesn't matter as long as it's Python 3. So I'm going to download this Python 3.7 version and save it to my computer. Of course, I did that before in order not to make you wait, but you can pause and wait until the download is finished. So I'm going to go over my downloads folder, or you should go to wherever you save this file and find the download file. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm going to close this before we don't need this anymore. I'm going to double click on the setup file and open Anaconda. So I'm going to say run and let me make this go away, and this will be a classical setup where you click next, next, next and install. So just click next and just select the first option here, and after that you have to choose wherever you want to download or install these files. The default is okay, and in here there are two options unchecked. The first one lets you to add Anaconda to system variables. So if you're a Windows user, you have to check this. Even though it doesn't recommend you, it recommends you to manually add this to path variables, but we're just gonna check this and let it work for ourselves. And the second is okay to check as well. It will let us to open Python codes default in Anaconda. So after checking these two options, I'm going to say install and it will start installing. It may take some time, so feel free to pause the video and of course meet me afterwards. So it's actually finished for me. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna click next here and it asks me if I want to install Visual Studio. I don't need this at this point, so I can just skip this. And at last it asks me if I want guidance. I don't need any guidance. I will show you how to do and set up Anaconda, so I'm going to say finish. So Anaconda is now in my computer, so if I type Anaconda here, it should bring up Anaconda Navigator. Okay, so please find it on your computer and click on it. It will open Anaconda for the first time. So when you open for the first time, you can just click here and see some different modules. What I'm interested in is Jupyter thing. So it will give me something called Jupyter Notebook, and within this notebook I can write Python code and see the output immediately. which lets us to work and see the results immediately, and so we can learn faster when we deal with the basics, the fundamentals of the Python. So it brings us a dashboard where you will see the folders and files in your computer. So let me zoom in a little bit so you can see it better. As you can see, it says files, and I see the folders in my own computer here. So if I have a notebook file, I can click from here and open it. But at this point, I don't have any notebook file, so I'm going to click new here and choose Python. So it will create a new Python notebook for me, in which we will write our first Python code. So this is how it looks. This is a standard Python notebook in which we can write our Python code. And there are some options here, as you can see. If you choose code, you can just write Python code like print, and print method, print function, print something. It's very simple. And the first program that everybody writes when learning a programming language is hello world. Okay, so choose a quotation mark from your keyboard, like double quotation or single quotation, it really doesn't matter, and write hello world inside this print function. And after that, you need to run this code by clicking this button here, and it gives the output of hello world. So congratulations, you have just written your first Python code. So what can we do besides writing Python code in Jupyter Notebook? If you choose code markdown rather than code in here, you can write notes to yourself. Like you can take notes while listening and learning the Python, like note hello world program, for example. And if you hit run again, it won't run any code because there isn't any code. This is just a note, a comment in your notebook. Let's run another command in here, say print, and this time rather than hello world, I will say hello 2. And if I hit run, it will give me the output of hello 2. Okay? So this is actually how it works. We write some code and we see the output of that code immediately in here. And if you're dealing with the programming for the first time in your life, it may sound confusing, but this is how it works. You write some code, computer actually works this code, runs this code, and gets an output and displays it to you. Like you may have said, just go to the internet and download some stuff and show it to me. It is the same thing as printing out hello world in theory, for instance. So other than that, you have to get familiarized with the keyboard shortcuts. In order to do that, just click help here and select keyboard shortcuts. And as you can see, there are a lot of keyboard shortcuts in here, but the one that we're going to use most is Shift Enter. Rather than clicking run in here, you can just press Shift Enter in your keyboard. Let's do that with print again, and let's print James this time rather than hello. And if I hit enter, it will just create a new line. Of course, I can write more than one line, okay? But I don't want to create a new line. I want to run this code, and not by clicking here. So if I press Shift Enter, it will just run this code for me. Like if I had clicked on the run button, it would have done the same thing. Of course, there are other keyboard shortcuts as well, and I suggest you to go over it and see if there is specific necessary thing for you. Suppose you're done with your notebook and you want to save it. If you come here, this untitled thing, this is the title of your notebook, and you may change it anytime you want. So let's call this Hello World and click rename here. So my notebook is called Hello World, and if I go to File here, I can save this or make a copy and later on open it and edit it again. So if I want to save it, I just click Save and Checkpoint, and here I can see the last checkpoint, last saved time, date in here. And of course I can save this as another file as well. Now I have saved it, okay? So if I close it, then I can open it again at the same state. So let's close this, and we can see the Hello World at the bottom in here, but let's suppose that I want to move this file to another place. So what do? I open the search box and search for Hello World to see the original folder that is saved, and as you can see, this is saved under users, i.e. user, so my username. This is saved in a folder. If I right click it and say go to the location, it will take me to the location. Let's suppose I want to create a new folder in my desktop and save every notebook in that folder, like notebook projects or whatever you want. So let's take this and move it to the newly created folder. Later on, let's go back to our Jupyter notebook. It's actually open in my browser here. As you can see, this is vanished from here. Now I have to go to the desktop and Python notebook, and then I can see the Hello World IP NYB. So if I click it, it will open as the same. We're going to deal with Jupyter notebooks for a long time. Since we're going to learn how to write Python code, you may encounter some problems with the notebooks. Of course, you can close the Jupyter notebook and Anaconda and restart it, and it will solve the major of the problems. But also you can go here to kernel and click it and say interrupt. It will stop the working process, and then you can say restart. So we are done here. Within the next lecture we're going to do the same thing but in a Mac, so if you're on Windows you may just skip it.